In the shadows of a world hidden from view, where the line between human and supernatural blurs, emerges a tale of two unlikely heroes. Welcome to the extraordinary saga of Lucas and Elara, werewolves bound not just by their shared nature, but by a relentless quest for justice. Every episode unravels a new chapter in their ongoing battle against the corrupt and the cruel. From the depths of the occult to the heights of corporate towers, they move in silence, striking where least expected. Their mission: to save the innocent and expose the malevolent. Armed with their wits, supernatural abilities, and a bond unbroken by adversity, they face adversaries both human and beyond. In a world where the prey can turn predator and the hunter becomes the hunted, Lucas and Elara navigate the grey areas of morality, justice, and loyalty. Join us as we delve into the heart of darkness, where danger lurks in every corner and courage is the only light. This is not just a journey through the night, it's a quest to bring balance to a world veiled in secrecy and rife with hidden threats. Get ready to enter a realm where myths come alive and heroes are born under the light of the moon. This is the world of Lucas and Elara. This is Lunar Shadows, the Chronicles of Lucas and Elara. Chapter 1. Into the Heart of Dystopia. Lucas and Elara, accompanied by Calder and Celine, entered the dystopian city under the cloak of twilight. The city, once a beacon of progress, had transformed into a shadow of its former glory. Skyscrapers, which used to touch the sky with glass and steel, now stood as hollowed remnants, their facades crumbling. The streets were filled with an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional patrol of the regime's enforcers. As they moved stealthily through the desolate cityscape, Celine briefed them on the tyrant who controlled the city. His name is Mordecai, a being of immense power and cruelty. He's not just a tyrant, he's something far more dangerous, a dark sorcerer with the ability to manipulate shadows and minds. Lucas frowned, taking in the gravity of the situation. A sorcerer. That complicates things. Elara nodded, her eyes scanning the surroundings. We've dealt with powerful foes before. What's important is understanding how he's oppressing the city. Calder chimed in. Mordecai uses his powers to instill fear. He can invade thoughts, turn people against each other, and worst of all, he can control the shadows themselves. The people are not just under physical tyranny, they're imprisoned in their own minds. As they delved deeper into the heart of the city, the signs of oppression were unmistakable. Propaganda posters depicting Mordecai's menacing visage adorned the walls, and downtrodden citizens moved about with a sense of hopelessness. The once vibrant city life had been reduced to a mere struggle for survival under Mordecai's iron-fisted rule. The rebel group led Lucas and Elara to their hideout, a hidden sanctuary in the skeleton of an old building. Here, a network of rebels, each with their story of defiance, had gathered under the common goal of overthrowing Mordecai. Lucas and Elara, now in the heart of the resistance, felt a renewed sense of purpose. The fight against the cult of the Silver Moon had brought them here, but their battle for freedom and justice was far from over. As they sat with the rebels, planning their next move, the weight of their mission settled upon them. They were not just fighting a tyrant, they were battling a force that had ensnared the very essence of the city and its people. The plan was daring and fraught with danger, but Lucas and Elara were no strangers to adversity. Alongside the rebels, they prepared to ignite an uprising against Mordecai, to free the city from its shadowy chains. The story of a rebellion had begun, and Lucas and Elara were at its forefront, ready to lead the charge into the darkness, to bring light back to the city, oppressed by supernatural tyranny. Chapter 2. The Tale of Mordecai's Rise. In the dimly lit hideout of the rebels, Lucas and Elara were introduced to the leader of the resistance, a stern yet charismatic figure named Idris. Idris, one of the few who had ever escaped Mordecai's clutches, carried a presence of both strength and wisdom. As they gathered around an old, worn table, Idris began to explain the gravity of their situation. Mordecai is not just a tyrant. He's a master of the darkest arts, shadow manipulation and mind control. He's a sorcerer whose power is unlike anything we've ever seen. Lucas and Elara listened intently as Idris detailed Mordecai's abilities. His shadows can materialize into physical forms, attack, and even spy on us. His mind control can turn friends into foes, making trust a rare commodity in this city. Idris then took them back to the time when Mordecai was still consolidating his power. Mordecai was once an advisor to the council here, but his ambition and lust for power led him down a dark path. He delved into forbidden rituals, seeking knowledge and power from ancient, malevolent sources. The story took them to a night shrouded in secrecy, where Mordecai had conducted a dark ritual that would forever change the fate of the city. In the ruins of an ancient temple, under a blood-red moon, Mordecai had chanted incantations that resonated with an eerie, otherworldly power. As the ritual reached its climax, shadows writhed and twisted around him, and a surge of dark energy coursed through the temple. Mordecai emerged from that night transformed, his eyes glowing with a sinister light, his aura radiating malevolence. From that day on, Mordecai was no longer human, Idris concluded, his voice tinged with sorrow. He became a vessel for dark forces, and the city fell under his shadow. Elara, her expression grave, asked, "How do you fight someone like that?" Idris leaned forward, determination in his eyes. "With courage, strategy, and allies like you. Mordecai's power is formidable, but he is not invincible. We've been working to find a way to counter his shadow manipulation, and now, with your help, we stand a chance." The meeting ended with a new resolve forming among the rebels. Lucas and Elara knew the fight ahead would be unlike any other. They were not just battling a tyrant, they were facing a force that threatened the very essence of humanity. As they left the meeting, the weight of their mission heavy on their shoulders, Lucas and Elara prepared for the battle ahead. The fight to reclaim the city from Mordecai's grasp had just begun, and they were at the forefront. Chapter 3. Shadows and Plans. While Lucas and Elara were deep in discussion with the rebels inside the dimly lit hideout, a sudden chill swept through the room. A shadowy figure materialized near the entrance, its form barely distinguishable against the darkness. One of the rebels spotted it and shouted, "They found us!" But as quickly as it appeared, the shadowy figure vanished into the darkness, leaving a sense of foreboding in its wake. Idris, his expression grim, addressed the group. "We must act with urgency. Now that Mordecai knows where we are, he won't hesitate to attack the minds of his people. He's been using shadows to spy on us." Lucas and Elara exchanged a worried glance. "What can we do against Mordecai? Werewolves are useless against mind control," Lucas pointed out. Idris nodded thoughtfully. "Indeed, but you may well be our greatest hope. Mordecai's mind control might not work on a beast, no offense. When in your werewolf form, your primal instincts might give you an edge against his manipulation." The revelation brought a new perspective to their strategy. Lucas and Elara, with their unique abilities, could play a crucial role in countering Mordecai's mind control tactics. Idris then outlined a plan to deal with Mordecai's shadow powers. We've been working on a device, a sort of electromagnetic pulse emitter. It disrupts shadow energy, making it momentarily tangible. If we can get it close enough to Mordecai during the pulse, we might be able to neutralize his shadow manipulation temporarily. Elara nodded. That could give us the opening we need. We can use that moment to launch a direct attack. The group gathered around a makeshift table, spreading out maps of the city and marking key locations. The plan was daring, requiring precise timing and coordination. They would need to infiltrate Mordecai's stronghold, deploy the device to disrupt his shadow powers, and then launch an all-out assault. As the meeting concluded, Lucas and Elara knew the stakes were higher than ever. The fate of the city and its people rested on the success of their mission. They were up against a foe unlike any they had faced, but they were not without their own strengths and allies. The rebellion was about to reach its climax, and Lucas and Elara were ready to lead the charge. With their newfound knowledge of Mordecai's weaknesses and the rebels' plan, they were poised to strike a blow against the tyrant and free the city from his dark grip. The battle for freedom was about to begin. Chapter 4. The Moonlit Assault. Under the looming shadow of the approaching full moon, Lucas, Elara, Calder, and Selene prepared for their assault on Mordecai's lair. All four, being werewolves, felt the impending pull of the lunar cycle. The tension in the air was palpable as they readied themselves for what might be their most dangerous mission yet. Let's hope his mind control can't reach the beast in us, or we're going to end up fighting each other, Lucas said, checking over his gear. The possibility of falling under Mordecai's spell was a risk they all acknowledged. We need to move now, so we're in position when the moon is full, Elara added, her voice laced with urgency. Timing was critical. They had to strike at the moment of their greatest strength. As the team moved out towards Mordecai's stronghold, the city's oppressive atmosphere weighed heavily upon them. Upon arriving, they observed shadowy figures patrolling the area around the lair. These were not ordinary guards. They were manifestations of Mordecai's dark sorcery. We can't fight them, Calder stated grimly, observing the shadow figures. We've tried before and failed. That's why we sought help from the cult initially. The shadows were elusive and intangible, impossible to attack, yet they posed a significant threat, capable of striking at will. The team realized that confronting these shadows head-on would be futile. We need Idris's shadow zapper before we can make a move, Selene pointed out. Let's hope it coincides with the full moon, or we'll miss our window of opportunity. The team took up positions near the stronghold, staying out of sight of the patrolling shadows. The tension rose as the moon climbed higher in the sky, its silvery light a harbinger of their impending transformation. Lucas and Elara communicated silently, a mutual understanding and trust between them. They knew the risk of engaging the enemy before disabling the shadows was too great. The success of their mission hinged on the timely arrival of Idris with the device. As the minutes ticked by, the team waited in anticipation, each member mentally preparing for the battle ahead. They knew that once the moon reached its peak, and they transformed, there would be no turning back. The fate of the city and its oppressed inhabitants rested on their shoulders. The night air was charged with potential energy, the city holding its breath for the impending confrontation. The battle against Mordecai and his dark forces was about to begin, and Lucas, Elara, Calder, and Selene were at the heart of it, ready to fight for freedom and justice. Chapter 5. The Moonlit Battle. As the moon reached its zenith, casting its full luminescent glow upon the city, all four members of the team, Lucas, Elara, Calder, and Selene, underwent their transformation into wolves. The change was swift and powerful, their bodies reshaping into the formidable forms of their lichened selves. Lucas let out a primal howl, soon joined by the others, their voices harmonizing in a chorus that resonated through the night. Alerted by the howls, the shadow figures patrolling Mordecai's stronghold turned their attention toward the team. Like dark wraiths, they moved swiftly towards the werewolves, ready to engage. Lucas, Elara, Calder, and Celine maneuvered through the shadows with supernatural agility, dodging the elusive attacks of their enemies. However, in the midst of the chaos, Celine was caught off guard. The shadows swarmed over her, their dark energy pulsing as they overwhelmed her. Calder, driven by concern, attempted to aid her, but found himself equally incapable of harming the intangible shadows, while also being vulnerable to their dark assaults. Elara, seeing the peril they were in, motioned to Lucas to keep moving forward. They had to reach Mordecai, and time then was of the essence. Lucas hesitated for a moment, torn between helping his comrades and pursuing their primary objective, but ultimately followed Elara's lead. As they advanced, a formidable army of shadow people materialized in front of them, blocking their path. Lucas and Elara skidded to a halt, facing what seemed an insurmountable barrier, their natural weapons useless against these spectral adversaries. Just when the situation appeared hopeless, a beam of purple light burst onto the scene, engulfing the area. It was Idris's shadow-disrupting device in action. The shadow people began to lose their coherence, their forms flickering and gradually vanishing under the influence of the device. Calder and Celine, now free from their assailants, rejoined Lucas and Elara. Idris emerged from the shadows, holding the device, his expression one of determination. With the path cleared of the shadowy threats, the team regrouped, preparing for the final assault on Mordecai's stronghold. The combined might of the werewolves, coupled with Idris's technological advantage, gave them a fighting chance. As they advanced towards the heart of the lair, the stakes were higher than ever. Mordecai, the master of shadows and manipulator of minds, awaited them. The team steeled themselves for the confrontation, knowing that the fate of the city and its oppressed inhabitants hung in the balance. It was time to face the tyrant, to end his reign of terror, and to free the city from his dark grasp. The battle for liberation was about to reach its climax. Chapter 6. The Showdown and the Setback. The full moon illuminated the night sky as the four lichens, led by Lucas, burst through the entrance of Mordecai's lair, ready for the final confrontation. Idris, wary of becoming a victim to Mordecai's mind control, remained outside with his shadow-disrupting device at the ready. Inside, they found Mordecai seated nonchalantly on a throne-like chair, an air of boredom about him. "About time," he taunted. "I thought you would have been stronger." Without a moment's hesitation, Lucas lunged at Mordecai, his primal instincts fully ignited. But just as he was about to strike, Mordecai shifted into a shadow form, and Lucas passed right through him. Mordecai reappeared in his physical form, a smirk on his face. He struck Lucas with a forceful blow, his arm wreathed in shadowy energy. Lucas was sent flying across the room, hitting the wall hard and falling incapacitated. Calder and Celine, seeing their leader down, attacked simultaneously from both sides. However, Mordecai effortlessly repelled their assault, flinging them aside with deadly force. They landed unconscious, leaving Elara the only one standing. Mordecai laughed mockingly. Pathetic. At that critical moment, Idris burst in, holding the shadow-disrupting device aimed at Mordecai. The beam hit the dark sorcerer, causing him visible pain. Elara, seized the opportunity. She lunged at Mordecai, striking him with all her might. He stumbled backward, bloodied and bruised, but instead of surrendering, he began to laugh maniacally. Lucas, regaining consciousness, rejoined Elara at her side. "You can help now," Mordecai sneered. Suddenly, Vorath, the powerful magician from the Crimson Moon Casino, materialized in the room. "Time for some revenge," he declared. The odds seemed impossible. Mordecai's shadow powers, combined with Vorath's magical prowess, were overwhelming. Just as the rebels began storming the building, Vorath unleashed a blast that sent Elara and Lucas flying across the room. Mordecai used his powers to halt the advancing rebels, attempting to invade their minds. Idris aimed the shadow zapper at Mordecai, but before he could fire, the device exploded. Vorath, smiling triumphantly, had used his magic to destroy it. In the ensuing chaos, Mordecai and Vorath easily subdued the rebels and the remaining Lycans. Standing over Lucas and Elara, Mordecai began to gather his power for a final, deadly strike. However, Vorath intervened. "No, not yet. I want them to know how powerless, how helpless they are against us. Come, we still have work to do." With those words, they both disappeared, leaving a trail of malevolence in their wake. Lucas, Elara, and the rest of the team lay defeated and demoralized. The realization dawned on them that this might have been a setup by Vorath, a cruel game to punish them for their previous encounter. They were left battered, their spirits broken, as the tyrants vanished into the night. The battle was lost, but the war was far from over. Lucas and Elara, though defeated, knew they had to regroup, reassess, and find a new way to fight back. The fight for the city's freedom had taken a devastating turn, but they were not ready to give up. The fight against tyranny and darkness would continue, no matter the cost. Final chapter. A city freed and a new threat. In the aftermath of their harrowing battle, the city finally found a semblance of peace. Vorath and Mordecai had not returned, leaving Lucas, Elara, and the rebels to ponder the true motive behind the recent events. Gathered with the rebels in what now felt like a liberated city, Lucas and Elara shared their thoughts. "I think you're safe. I don't think they're coming back," Lucas said, though his voice carried a hint of uncertainty. "What just happened?" Idris asked, still trying to make sense of it all. "We got our butts kicked," Lucas admitted candidly. He and Elara then explained their previous encounter with Vorath, speculating that the entire assault might have been a setup aimed at getting back at them. Idris, contemplative, offered a different perspective. "We may have been defeated in battle, but we have our city back. That counts for something." His words brought a sense of solace amidst the uncertainty. The conversation then turned to something Mordecai had mentioned, a laboratory where he conducted cruel experiments. Idris believed this place could hold the key to understanding Mordecai's powers. If we can find this laboratory and uncover what happened there, we might be able to prepare for whatever Vorath has planned for us next. This new revelation led to their next mission, the Laboratory of Lost Horrors. In this secretive facility, it was rumored that creatures and humans were subjected to horrific trials, their suffering fueling the scientists' unethical practices. Determined to expose the truth and put an end to the cruelty, Lucas and Elara agreed to venture into this unknown horror. They hoped that infiltrating the laboratory would not only bring justice to those who had suffered there, but also shed light on what Vorath might have in store for them. As they prepared to leave, the rebels expressed their gratitude. The city, though scarred, was free from tyranny, and hope was slowly returning to its streets. Lucas and Elara, along with Idris and the rebels, knew that the fight against darkness was far from over, but for now, they had given the city a chance to heal and rebuild. The laboratory of lost horrors awaited them, a new chapter in their relentless fight against evil. As they set out, Lucas and Elara were ready to face whatever horrors lay within, standing as guardians against the cruelty that lurked in the shadows. Their journey continued, each new challenge a testament to their courage and unwavering spirit. Thank you for joining me on this chilling journey. If your thirst for the unknown and the unexplained is still unquenched, I invite you to delve deeper into the abyss of terror. Just beyond the veil of reality, another story awaits to send shivers down your spine. Dare to join me in the next video, where the unknown becomes known and the unseen seen. Until then, keep the lights dim and your mind open. This is Professor Shadow, signing off.